Good evening, Matt Squatch here. So I'd like to revisit an old case now that I'm getting back into this, and this is the Claudia Ackley encounter. Old school fans of the channel will know that I've talked about this place on and off. In the past, I interviewed Claudia a number of times, interviewed her daughter, interviewed multiple people who live in the area, who have shed some light on some stories. And I think the big update now, and I can kind of say more about certain things, is that Claudia passed away. I think it was last year. And it's always sad when people passed away, especially a drug overdose. And I think that's kind of an important factor to think about is drugs or any kind of addiction or any kind of a problem was definitely on her mind and definitely a motivating factor in some of the things that she did. So to give you a rundown, Claudia Ackley and her daughter is a younger teenager, they were out hiking down this trail. This trail is a closed road that's kind of set back in a residential neighborhood, kind of near Lake Arrowhead, but kind of more of a residential area. Claudia herself was living in Crestline. And yeah, so I've been to this road many times in the past, and what happened to Claudia is they were out hiking, and in a little clearing area up in a tree, they got video, really terrible video that I don't even want to show, of a creature up in a tree. Didn't really look like a bear. They all said it looked like a hairy creature, and that's what Claudia said, and that's what her daughter said. And they also said while they were looking at the one in the tree down the road, another one ran by, a smaller one, which looked like it could have been a young one. And I interviewed Claudia, talked to her daughter. They both seemed very sincere at the time. And they got video of it. So that seems like a pretty promising case. Like I said, I've talked to several people who live up here, and they tell me that they get them in their yards, they see them at night, or like if they're driving back from a store or a restaurant. And they're just, to some people up there, kind of common knowledge. When I went up a few days ago here recording this, here's a big puddle, which was great because there are big old bear tracks and deer tracks. And even down the road from here, I found something that looked like possible Sasquatch tracks going perpendicular to the road. So that's just to show you guys. Anyway, back to the story. So Claudia Ackley then very famously filed a lawsuit to claim that these were an undiscovered creature and that they're dangerous and that they need protection. And while it was certainly a novel idea, everybody knew it wasn't going to go anywhere and it was going to be a waste of everybody's time. And that's kind of what the judge thought, and it never ended up going somewhere. And I guess the way they filed it, they could have filed it differently, and they kept withdrawing the case and refiling, but lawyers aren't cheap, and that stuff takes years. And having a drug addiction and a young daughter and a crazy ex-husband and all the other stuff Claudia went on about was hard. I always kept her at arm's length to where I was friendly with her, to where I talked to her on the phone occasionally. She'd send me pictures or send me updates. She wanted me to be like a tour guide, and she was always trying to find ways to make money off of my very minor celebrity. And I always just kind of pushed it off or said, yeah, well, maybe later, let me think about it. Oh yeah, check out this push down tree. By the way, that tree's still green. That's pretty interesting. But yeah, so I always kept her at arm's length, and it was one of those things where I kind of didn't think anything of it. I could always tell some days when she was losing weight and she just seemed really manic that she was definitely on drugs or on something. Pretty sure it was meth. That's what everybody told me, which is all too common. This was 8 years ago, so meth, I mean, nowadays it would probably be fentanyl. But I heard her and her partner were running across state lines and buying Sudafed and cooking meth and doing all that stuff. And it's very, very unfortunate. And this does not lend to her credibility, which is the big problem with the story. So even if you took Claudia Ackley out of this encounter, you had a 14-year-old girl saw this creature up in a tree, and she had videotape of it in an area that has been known to have Sasquatch encounters. And I myself have been up here a bunch of times in the past. I've hiked this trail. It felt like I could fall asleep on the trail. Other days I've hiked this trail and felt like my heart was pounding. Everything was really still and quiet. It felt really creepy. Occasionally you'd hear a big snap or something way off in the distance. And certain parts of this trail have very steep hillsides, mountainsides that go way, way up. And here's the actual spot where it happened in the video, by the way. And this particular spot has a lot of blinds where it has open areas and then really densely like clumps of trees and bushes. Perfect spot to throw a rock or to ambush somebody. And this spot has always been really creepy, even if the rest of the trail seems calm. This spot always seemed uneasy to me, and even friends and people I've brought up here and not really told them anything, they've been kind of like, they kind of get a little uneasy at this spot. So I don't know if it's a den or if something other paranormal is going on. I definitely want to plan some return trips because it's pretty easy to get to and pretty easy road to walk on. So I'd love to come back. I was by myself this day. I'm never too brave by myself, but I'd like to come back at night with some friends, with protection, my night vision cameras, flashlights, that kind of stuff. Come prepared. I'd also love to set up a trail camera. I'd love to put a trail camera facing the road, put a couple of them facing each other, but I don't want to get my trail camera stolen. This is a pretty well-used path. I don't see a lot of tourists, but I do see a lot of locals up there walking their dogs. And so I don't want to risk it. I'm sure kids go through here all the time. I would if I was a kid. I'd be playing Robin Hood and running through the woods and cowboys and Indians and all that stuff. To your right of the screen there is the actual tree. And up in the tree is where there was a creature, just to have a little context to the video. So yeah, I'm very mixed. You know, you have an area of a background of sightings. I've encountered possible tracks. I did a short on it. If you check out the shorts on my channel, you'll see it. I've encountered bear tracks there. I've been zapped, which is what they call when you've been hit by infrared, where I was hiking down this trail, and all of a sudden my eyes, I got blinded, and I was like that seeing stars kind of a feeling, and I got really hot and sweaty and nauseous and felt out of it and in a terrible mood for 2 or 3 days. I've been around Sasquatch at night, and I've been scared before, but never really had that infrared zap feeling of just a very, very strange impending doom, like it was calling out to me directly. It was a very odd experience, and that was shortly after I had met Claudia years ago. And like I said, I've been on this trail, and it's felt decently calm, and I've been up here and been really creeped out before. So something's going on. And I guess to kind of make it in a conclusion, did Claudia Ackley see something that day? Did she film something that day? Well, she definitely filmed something. They definitely saw something. Her daughter did seem genuine. I know kids can be put up to things. The fact that Claudia filed lawsuits, had GoFundMe pages, and I guess many years previous was in the Bigfoot community are all red flags. But her daughter could have saw something, and she got video of it, and I've had strange encounters on this trail. So I always go back and forth on this of what exactly was going on. And just so you know, where this tree is a half mile from the trailhead, and there's no way to really drive there. And even if you could, you'd have to get a really long extension ladder and go up in that tree. I guess in 2017, you could have gotten a drone or something to drop something up there. The footage doesn't really look like a bear, although there are bears in the area. So I think something happened, and I think a deeply flawed person took advantage of the situation and tried to enrich themselves and make themselves famous by lawsuits. And I talked to Claudia, and I could kind of tell when some days when she was very on the level and very factual and seemed very trustworthy, and there are other days you can tell that she was on drugs and you didn't know what to believe. So that's kind of it. In conclusion, I want to know what you guys think in the comments. If you guys ever met Claudia Ackley, I know in the past other people have reached out to me and say, oh, I've lived in Crestline where Claudia lived and she's crazy, or no, she's telling the truth, and or she's a shyster and a con artist, and she very well could be telling all those things. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? So let me know what you think. I know there are fans and viewers of this channel that live in Crestline, Arrowhead, the whole San Bernardino mountain area. It's right in my backyard. I'm about an hour away, so I get up there periodically. Also kind of looking for new sites, new trails. And like I said, as far as Sasquatch goes, there's a lot of houses in the area, plenty of places for them to get water, steal dog food, steal supplies. And my experience in the past, like charcoal manufactured like Kingsford charcoal, Bigfoots love to steal that stuff. I don't know if it's charcoal for their stomach or some kind of a nutrient that they need, but I've had charcoal stolen a bunch of times. I might try gifting. I never recommend gifting a Bigfoot if it's in your yard or on your property, but this is a trail. Here we are back at the site again. Maybe I'll leave some charcoal and maybe a couple of trinkets, something shiny, set a trail camera up pretty far away and see what happens. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments, and stay safe out there, folks.